Cool, right. So, Mr. Heller.
Mr. O'Sullivan.
Good to see you again.
Very good to see you again.
As you say, nice to see you.
No, I don't say that. Bruce Forsyth used to say that.
Yeah. So, obviously, we are back. We are back filming. It's probably been, I would say, 5 years since we done some filming together with Marcus.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd get the old gang back.
Probably a bit more than that, mate.
It was 2019.
Yeah. Was it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think. No,
Really?
I thought it was a bit after that, but it was pre-COVID.
Well, we haven't aged one bit.
No, 7, 8 years ago. Let's call it that.
Yeah. Here we are now then. We're starting a podcast, right? Yep. The farm is going to be majority of where the podcast is going to be based, but we're also going to be doing a lot out and about on the road. And basically, the podcast mainly, there's two sides to the story. One being business, which I know you are very experienced in, and the other one being sort of personal stuff, like personal gains, positivity. I know obviously you give a lot to people and businesses. A lot of the time you give to people, I think, you know, that should have some exposure and people should have more time to listen. I've seen you since obviously I was a younger man, give a lot of time away, and I think time's a very precious thing in life. So obviously we don't get to catch up as much as I would like. So this is a thing that we can catch up, have a good chin wag, and along the way, no doubt, I'll be bringing people to the table that I think will be good for yourself and vice versa. Let's cut to the chase. What have you been up to?
Oh, good grief, quite a lot really.
There's not many people. Sorry to cut in there. Yeah, there's not many people that are on their phone. Let me turn off that. That's my one there. Yeah, you've outphoned me already today. He's come in here. Yeah. And his phone's gone off 5 times and he's saying, sorry. It's kind of what I do, right? So let me get rid of my phone. You're going to have to get rid of your...
Just press the silent.
Yeah, but the lights then flash. So you need to...
Let me stick it up my arse. It won't flash then, will it?
It won't flash, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Right, so as we were, phones are off. We are locked in and we are now ready for takeoff. So where have you been spending your time recently?
Well, you know, since I gave up my role as the commercial director at AFC Wimbledon, things, you know, for the first year it was really peculiar. I didn't really know where to put myself or what to do or how to do it. The world is, in my opinion, still in recovery from COVID. So I spent my time doing a lot of charity work, which is something I get a great deal out of, and looking after various little bits and pieces that I'm involved in before I started to step on to other things, which is happening now. It was really good being able to spend more time on the charities, you know, St George's charity, one way and another. We raised a lot of money, over 600,000 in 2 dinners here. Then I did a fair whack of work with Siobhan McDonough, whose sister unfortunately died, you know, the Baroness Margaret McDonough died of a glioblastoma, which is a brain tumour. So I contacted Siobhan after a couple of weeks after she'd passed away, and I said, look, I'd like to do something in Margaret's name. She was a great woman. I don't know if you knew.
No.
She was an amazing woman. She was the first female general secretary of the Labour Party. She brought the boy Blair to power, basically. She was an incredible woman, very, very helpful, great to us here at the club and our charity and so on. And she meant a lot to me. So I went to see Siobhan and I said, look, I've got an idea. I'm good at running these dinners. Let's run a dinner in Margaret's name to try and raise money for research to find a cure for glioblastoma. And she said, oh, no, that'd be wonderful, brilliant. We'll put a little committee together. Well, the next meeting was up in town. And when I walked into that meeting, half of the people there were the senior people at the top of the Labour Party. I couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden I sat in this meeting, whereas I'm used to doing just about everything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it was like, no, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. And these are all people that are really powerful. And I'm like, yeah, this is good. I don't have to do anything. All I had to do was point them in the right direction on several different things and work with everybody. And of course I did a few bits and everything. But basically we put that dinner on in June. And by the time that was finished...
That was here, right?
No, No, that was up in London. That was up at the Hilton Park Lane. But that raised basically 1.2 mil.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it was really powerful, poignant event that was really necessary. And we're working with a guy called Dr. Paul Mulholland, who reckons in 10 years' time we'll have a cure. 3,200 people a year die of, you'll know people that have had brain tumours that would be a glioblastoma. So I'm allowed to drink halfway through it.
Yeah, of course.
I need a drink, sorry.
That's all right. Jeez, man. Well, listen, so there's been loads of things that I've seen you do.
Yeah.
Throughout the time. So, I don't think there's another person who I would say done enough given time like you have for different charities or organisations, etc., etc., etc. Currently, you're doing stuff with DLAG, are you?
Yeah. So I'm an ambassador for Don's Local Action Group, which is one of my. Well, it's a fantastic thing. I've been saying it for a long time that the best marketing this football club, AFC Wimbledon, ever had was the Don's Local Action Group. Because for a small club, like we are still a relatively small club, what we do for the community, providing food for 6 million meals. So you can't imagine that, crazy. Can you really? The amount of stuff that I know that we did. We were like the fifth emergency service during COVID. I got told on December the 23rd of 17 families that were refugees. They were in Surbiton. They literally had no food on December the 23rd. They had no food, no money, no nothing. They'd just been put into these flats. They had nothing. It was a local pastor that I knew that got in touch with me. I was housebound because I had to shield because of COVID. Because
you're doing laps of your garden, keeping fit, weren't you?
I was doing all sorts of stuff, keeping people amused all the way through COVID. That was a right laugh. But this was a serious situation. So I phoned Craig at the Don's Local Action Group, who's a good old friend of mine anyway, and I just said, look, mate, we've got these families here. They've literally got nothing. It's two days before Christmas. What can we do? Is there anything we can do? And by later that day, they all had their first food parcels, and they all had food, were catered for Christmas. Like some of the kids got Christmas presents. Don's Local Action Group can do that. They can cut through the red tape and make things happen. It's a big old
force now, isn't it, man?
Massive.
That's good, mate. So did you do the sleep out?
No, unfortunately, I can't do the sleep out.
I'd have loved to do that. Do you know the funny thing is, it's right when my kids' birthdays are.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Next year, they're getting a bit older now. I said to you, mate, we need to do that, man.
Yeah. I'd love to do it, but I can't lay properly in bed, never mind on concrete.
You just bring a little mattress?
Yeah, I don't think so.
A lie low?
No. I need support under my legs. My leg won't bend properly, and I've got all my rib damage and everything else. I'm falling apart. So it's not stopping me doing anything, but I can't. I draw the line at that. There's not a lot I draw the line at.
I don't know if you know this, but I build camper vans.
Yeah.
So the next time that we do one, I'll bring a camper van for you.
You got it, and I'll do it.
And it'd be sweet, it'd be glamping. So obviously a lot of people always ask me about AFC Wimbledon, how did AFC Wimbledon start, blah, 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 blah. In a nutshell, can I ask you some questions about...
You can ask me any questions you like.
So there was yourself and a couple of others, right? You decided that you wanted to reclaim what was stolen, yeah?
I think that's a good way of putting it.
What boozer did you go to?
We didn't go to a boozer. That's not the truth.
That's the story, though, isn't it?
I know, that's the story.
What do they call it? Chinese whispers?
Yeah. And some people like to propagate
I know where
that.
you went anyway. You went to your offices.
Yeah, it was in my... Everything started in my offices. And it's quite funny. So I'm writing a book at the moment. So I'm doing a book where a lot of that stuff's going to be reinforced and put the way I want it to be put.
Yeah.
And everyone's got their own version of history, and mine's the right one. That's the way I feel. So I'm going to make sure that I tell my truth, and that I get stuff that I want to get out there. So it's kind of
documented.
Yeah, it's documented, and people can take it or they can't take it. I don't really care. I just know what I think is my truth. And along the way, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny stories. There's a lot of laughs and giggles. And there's some quite serious stuff as well in there. But basically, starting this football club the way it did and the way it progressed, and being commercial director here for 21 years, it took over the best part of my life. And a lot of people say, do you regret it? And no, not one single second of it. I've done things, experienced things that most other people couldn't even dream.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to do that story again, right? Like 20, was it 22 years ago?
Yeah, could never happen again. It's
How old were you 22 years ago? Do I'm asking. 21?
Oh, yeah, 23. When we started the club, I think I was actually 38 or 39.
So keep coming up to my sort of age.
Yeah. So I turned 61 last birthday.
So did you think when you and the other originals when you had this vision, did you think in 20 odd years time you'd be back at Plough Lane playing at a very, very good level of football with a very, very, very state of the art stadium? Did you genuinely think that would happen?
I thought in stages. At no stage did I ever think that we wouldn't come back to Merton. At no stage did I ever think that we wouldn't get to the Football League.
It was kind of written in the stars, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the first bits were, although it was very difficult to set a football club up, the first bits were relatively straightforward. We hired a ground. We got fans to come to the games, which was in their droves in the Combined Counties League. You'll remember that.
Yeah.
We in our first season in the Combined Counties League, we averaged 3,000.
You sold hospitality in a shed.
Well, not quite a shed in the President's Lounge. It was
wasn't it at Chipstead or somewhere? There was a first away game or something.
Oh no! The first away game was away at Sandhurst. A few of our fans that were all good friends of mine, one way and another, phoned up Sandhurst and said, we'd like to sponsor the game. They said, we've never had anyone do that before. No one wants to sponsor our games. So they bought it for a ridiculous amount, really cheap. But they were invited along, and really it was in it was like a porter cabin, really, but this tiny little room that made you feel like you're in a caravan. So my mate, drunkenly, and he was a bit pie-eyed, tried to sell the mayor of Sandhurst a caravan. The point being really funny was that he didn't even own a caravan. He just thought it was the right thing to sell a caravan to the mayor. That day was insane. It was absolutely brilliant.
You know what, caravans, I swear down, if you've got a little bit of spare money to buy one of them and do them up, like you will never, ever lose on them. Because at the end of the day, it's a little house, isn't it? You can pick them up for peanuts, man.
Yeah.
As long as you can tow it, mate, it's a good old British holiday, isn't it?
Not for me, thanks very much.
Mate, I love them. I mean, I do camper vans, but a little tow on a towaway caravan is definitely on my radar.
Yeah.
100%. So the early days of obviously AFC Wimbledon, I think, is something that probably a lot of people miss, right? All of it's like the good old days.
Well, the camaraderie. What it was you'd go to football every week. One of the beauties of Kings Meadow that we haven't got here, and you wouldn't have anywhere else actually, was that the bars were outward facing.
So natural.
So you didn't have to show a ticket to go into the bar. Yeah. Right. So
that meant good money for the business side.
Yeah,
of things, right?
That was good money for the business. But what it also meant is that people from all parts of the ground could mix in the same spot.
Yeah.
So you could see people, and you'd see people there week in, week out, and you'd know that outside the door at 12 o'clock, you'd know who'd be waiting there. Yeah. The same people every week, and you let them in and they get their chairs.
People's social. Like for instance, I've seen what my dad's gone through from being like having a partner and then losing your partner. And one of the things he really genuinely looks forward to now is coming to football, right?
Yeah.
And it's like with the flood that happened and stuff like that here, it kind of crushed him because he couldn't come here because the lifts weren't working.
Yeah.
Now we're just back. But I think with going to the football, probably a bit like, some pubs and stuff, it's someone's social life, isn't it? It's a reason to live and get out. And
it is a community. It was much easier in the Combined Counties League and the Ryman Leagues to build that community because you were going to away grounds and some of them we'd be taking like 1,500 fans to places that you'd never heard of that were only half an hour up the road. Hartley Whitney, nobody knew where Hartley Whitney was, but we went there with about 1,500 fans and 1,400 of them came back because the rest of them was too drunk to move, and they'd never seen anything like it there, and we had such a laugh doing all of these things.
Little clubs, like, for instance, I've what I've done recently. I've entered into the football business world.
Love what you've done.
It's definitely an eye opener. I've stayed back for the time being. Normally, I'd go into something like a wrecking ball and try and learn everything straight away. This time, I haven't. I've observed what it is, and I'm learning. Right, I'm learning the process. But for a budget and stuff like that to get a load of even away fans to come in and to come into the bar where you get, you know, part of the money and stuff is unbelievable good. You know, it buys tracksuits, it buys.
Football is a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money you've got.
Apart from if you're Wrexham.
Still a bottomless pit for them.
He's definitely made dough out of that.
Their losses are quite high, but, you know.
The way he'll do it, I suppose, he's got so much other businesses, it probably balances.
Yeah.
Right?
He hasn't put a penny of his own money in. Yeah. No, don't go thinking
He has sold, though.
He hasn't put any of his own money in there.
Just the face.
Yeah. Well, it's all come off the. No, it's all
I need to read his book.
It's all come off the brands, and he's got loads of brands. But
the actual series itself makes them a packet.
The Netflix one.
Yeah, so Amazon.
And that's where the money comes from.
No, Disney.
No,
it's Disney.
I'm taking my jacket off now. Now we're talking real business.
Yeah,
mate.
basically Disney have paid an arm and a leg.
Can you be heard on this? Good.
Yeah, Disney have
Turn
paid
yourself up.
Disney have paid an arm and a leg to Rob and Ryan, and also they saw investment before it all launched.
Yeah. So it
Surprised that, you know, Netflix didn't snap up AFC Wimbledon.
well, they so Netflix had talked to
Never
us.
say never.
Well, they've done Sunderland Netflix, haven't they? So
There's loads of them that have already gone on, and we missed the boat.
Yeah, but
I
Sunderland and there's Man City, I think, as well.
that's on
Tottenham
Amazon. So
done one.
that was
Oh, is
all. Yeah, so they were the All or Nothing series.
That's it. You got it.
And Netflix did the Sunderland Till I Die, and then obviously Wrexham's on Disney.
Yeah, I've never watched any of them.
No, to be fair, they are entertaining. The All or Nothing series started off as American football,
Yeah.
and then they started doing soccer. So part of why Klopp left last season was because Liverpool signed a deal to do.
Yeah.
So Klopp was like, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
So, talking about Klopp, right? And that's what it is with me and Ivor. It's like there's no point in even trying to make a plan because the plan's going to go there and there and there. So
I can stick to a plane.
He's now we'll go back, yeah. So, but Klopp now, I actually liked him as a manager. One because he speaks with a smile, yeah. But
Except he smiles when he loses. I don't like that.
but that's nerves.
Yeah, go
That's
on.
nerves. So
Go
he's
on,
gone
go on.
from being a football manager, and what's he doing now? He's doing some sort
Oh,
of
some ambassador for Red Bull or something, checking all the Red Bull's football assets or something like that.
What different
Sold
job?
his soul
It's
to the
like
devil.
it's like the commercial development something or other. He's head of football development, I think.
So he's gone
For
into
Red
more
Bull.
of the business side of things than the actual.
He didn't want to manage, and it was an option to stay in the game, basically, and also wedge in payments.
Just a bit.
Because they've got New York Red Bulls,
Yeah.
Leipzig, although they RB Leipzig, and they've got Red Bull Salzburg, and then there's others around the globe. There's some in South America and things like that.
So here we are. Then we've got a man sitting here who's just entered semi-professional football business. Yeah, with men and ladies. I mean, the ladies aren't. You know, the ladies' football scenario is not obviously where the men's is yet, but I do think one day.
For people who don't know about that, Ryan, just tell them a little bit about that, because some people will be watching this now and have no idea
Call
what
it
you're doing.
women's football and all. Call it women's football. They don't like being called ladies.
Why?
I can't give you the
I've
ins and outs
seen-
of it.
Some of the football teams say blah blah ladies.
Not anymore, they don't.
Really?
Or women's teams now. Women's and girls sections.
Do you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say both because it's not. I don't think it's a bad thing to say that. I actually quite like women's football.
Yeah, no. Well, that's fine. It's
I
up
have
to
nothing
you.
against it. I actually think as we get as you know, I've got a little girl. As she gets older, I'm definitely going to be putting her into football.
Yeah, of course.
There's nothing I enjoy more than taking my 10-year-old girl to play football. She's a great goalkeeper as well. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Did you teach her all of that, or was she?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, wicked man. So
And this is the thing, it empowers women and girls, football does. It really does.
yeah, I mean the World Cup was the World Cup? Was it the Euros? Isn't it?
Both. We've just both been, we won the Euros and
the World
we
Cup
didn't quite
just,
win the
yeah.
World Cup, yeah.
So we've got a man who's just entering football business. Originally, about 2014, I set up a Saturday team and a Sunday team, sponsored it, called it Rygas, done all right. The boys who I grew up with were all still playing football to a half decent level, managed to get players that you probably should pay to basically come and play for free. give them free subs, free beers, go and party with them afterwards. It's just this good crack, done quite well, got quite high up, and was always looking at the other clubs that were kind of playing at some sort of a level, and there was a few football clubs that I looked into actually a while back. I remember getting some advice from you, from one football club in particular, which that would have been a big jump for me to get involved with that. That would have been getting big balls out as well, man, to get involved with that.
You're not saying who it is, are you? So
no.
It would have hit your bank balance quite hard.
Yeah. Carried on with doing normal business and got an opportunity to get involved in Toot and Beck. Met up with the chap that created it. I think he's a very clever man. Built it from nothing to keep players. I think it's really hard especially when you're not paying them. Bought into him as much as the club. And it's the first year now that I'm learning, I'm observing, as women's teams, as men's teams, and I think it's got a lot of potential. But again, I don't know nothing about football business. I know the game football and I know business. I'm sure if I put 2 and 2 together, I'll make 4. And that's that, The commercial aspect of it, I think I'll be pretty good at. I'll be able to bring a lot to the table with that. But at the end of the day, you've got to win games, and games bring you league spots and places and attract, better players. So
Is it more philanthropy or...
I have no idea what that word means.
Okay.
And I've just turned my iPad off, so I can't even Google it.
Philanthropy is like you're helping other people, basically, or do you see it as a business venture that could eventually turn profit?
I don't see it as something that will necessarily make money. I think there'd be 100% other ways to be able to make money, but at the same time, it's something, if you enjoy it and it's not a chore and it's positive, then I think you should do it, and that's kind of why I've done it. But I do think there's aspects of football, especially with the advertising stuff. I do think there's a lot of perks with that. I mean, originally when I got released from Brentford and I'd done the semi-pro round and I had a little spell at Wimbledon when I was very young, Ivor was the man that you would come and speak to about sponsorship, this, that, and the other. I tried very early to get involved with a sponsorship, but when I found out what the price was and stuff, it wasn't something that we could accommodate for because we didn't have the budget within the business. I even went to Ivor's office, because at one point you were doing websites.
Yeah.
But again, didn't go with Ivor for the website because he wanted £2 million to build a 2-page website.
Exactly.
So that was that.
How else do you pay for a football club?
Yeah, exactly that.
No, I didn't pay for this football club.
But no, so obviously, I suppose you know more about advertising with football than a majority of people out there, right?
I would suggest that I know a fair whack about it. One of the things we did at this club that stood us in really good stead, which is something you've touched on, I always knew we'd grow as a club. I felt that we would easily get to the conference, and that wouldn't take that long to do, and we did it earlier than I thought we would do. So I'd always suggested that if you sell it cheap, putting the prices up and getting to the levels that you need to do as you go up through the leagues quite quickly will be impossible. But if you sell it expensive, and if you sell it with a genuine ROI in mind, that would stand us in better stead as we go along. So I could have sold every single hoarding at Kings Meadow in our first season and filled every single square inch up, and we'd have made £2,000. Or I could sell the 5 or 6 hoardings that we did for like a minimum of £1,200 a hoarding, minimum, and make a lot more money. And then you add to it as you go, and you've got the room to grow instead of the people sitting there with a hoarding hanging over our fence that's stuck on some ridiculous repeating contract or whatever for £200, and it was really stark like that, and it was quite funny how it happened, and quite a really good thing that we started off selling expensive, but then we still had 3,000 pairs of eyes on it. We had TV crews down all the time. People got better value for money than they could have realised. We also did stuff to make sure we could look after small advertisers, which is the thing that I think would work for your mob.
Yeah, I mean,
is doing a directory.
With Tooting Beck, I think we need to first of all, a bit like probably Wimbledon, we need to get back into our area.
Oh, very much, yeah.
So that's something that, you know, every week we're looking at options. We actually have got some options, which is good, and it 100% will happen to be somewhere, you know, back where it works, where we're currently at. Is a bit out of the way, although it's a nice playing field.
Yeah,
there's a good bar there. You know,
funny enough, I've played football there and I've drunk in that bar. That's amazing, isn't it?
Good, mate. You probably done it at the same time as well.
I did.
Yeah, so that's good. But like again, you know, Steph that started the club. What I liked about him is he was very much like not just to take someone's, you know, money for advertising. It was kind of like, okay, what do you do? Let me understand what you do as a business, and then straight away he's like, you know, we've got a load of players that have come over from this place, and they like, if we need an estate agent, they rent, they do this, blah 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 blah. And I do think if you sell out advertising, there's no point just taking someone's money.
Oh, you've got to make it a two-way street.
Exactly.
I always said that with you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I always said that with you, that we put you forward, and lots of our fans have used you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no,
you know,
it's been brilliant. Yeah,
you know, so you know, if you can get your base advertising for nothing, more or less, which you know, whether you do or not now, I don't know, but you know, certainly in the earlier days, I think you at least paid for your advertising.
Oh, mate, yeah. Days. I mean, it was very good at Kingsmead. Obviously, with COVID was a bit of a drama because, for one, you weren't allowed fans, and two, the ground weren't finished.
No,
I was
traumatic.
I was sponsoring a stand with a place that no one you were allowed into, and the ground weren't even finished. So we were playing at QPR anyway.
Yeah, but those
but it is what it is.
But those audiences we got online were massive.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, it was amazing, the audiences that we got online, and you know,
and we're as a club now we're getting more TV exposure, which is amazing.
Yeah, there's loads more coming
now. We had
now.
two today, was it?
Yeah, two more announced today. I mean, you know, how many people, what size audience you get for those games, I'm not totally sure, but.
How was your Jolly Boys outing last week? And that looked like great fun.
It was a riot. It was a riot.
Yeah. So afterwards, when you guys got back to Wimbledon, I couldn't make it, right? And then it come to like 5 o'clock.
Can you explain why you couldn't make it? Exactly.
Children. Maybe.
Oh, was it children?
Yeah.
You weren't hungover from the night before?
Nah.
Are you sure?
If I was hungover, I would have come because then I would have just got hair with a dog. I think it was like 5 or 6 o'clock, and then it was the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Draw, wasn't it? And I think, was Arsenal and someone playing, or was it like a London
game?
Yeah,
there was a big game on. I can't.
Did everyone go back to the Alex afterwards?
Yeah, it was mad in there.
Yeah, I bet
Absolutely
it was a buzz.
mad.
The only thing is, it
really
was a
buzzing.
Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't make any difference by that time.
I had a busy Monday.
It took us 4.5 hours to get back from Milton Keynes because we stopped at kind of the gateway to London, or Gateway Services, which used to be called Scratchwood, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know.
We stopped. We had a party in the car park.
Oh, really?
And it was a riot.
But that would have been okay. I've seen the tinnies.
Yeah,
people had some tillies, didn't they? Yeah, the Colesbergs.
A few.
I see them.
It was brilliant. It really was. It was a throwback.
They were lovely buses, weren't they?
Brilliant. Route Masters, the old school ones. The only trouble is when we were in traffic on the way back, and you know, because we came back through Acton and that way, every time the bus stopped for traffic, someone got off to have a pee up a wall somewhere, which was...
It'd have been worse if you started picking people up.
It was funny.
That's the trouble, though. If you go like on a horse racing day or a football thing, and you do end up having tinnies on the way, you just have to keep stopping. It's actually painful, isn't it? Like
it was.
Have like a milk bottle. Or
right.
something.
Getting up there was okay. Getting back was hysterical. We did.
So did you go in the Alex when you got back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in there until after the draw, and then went off down the road. And then, honestly, that night.
So that's televised, right?
Dagenham's on telly, yes. So it's an evening kick-off.
And then the big boys are in the next round after that, right?
Yeah. So we've got to beat Dagenham, and we've got to be careful there because they beat Crewe away from home. So, you know, make no mistake.
Yeah, being the underdog, no pressure.
They've got nothing to lose. They've got Paul Callan by there.
Newcastle was an experience, wasn't it? I've never seen so many people, ever.
But you've been to Wembley, haven't you?
I have been to Wembley, but I don't feel like I've been to Wembley for a proper game.
What it is at Newcastle, the reason you're saying that is because Newcastle was in the middle of the city. So you come out of a city pub and then all of a sudden there's literally thousands of people going. But when we played at Arsenal, there were as many people.
I've been to Wembley with Wimbledon, mate. What am I talking about?
And there were more people there.
What am I talking about?
But there were more people there than there were at Newcastle.
No.
St. James.
How many people were at...
At Wembley, I think it was 58,000, something like that.
There was an 80,000 people at Newcastle.
No, it wasn't. It was 51 and a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Mate, it seemed like a lot of people.
It's like Anfield, isn't it? It's in the middle of all the houses. It's in
the city.
In amongst it all, isn't it?
Inner city football, which is where it should be.
We're going on to business here quickly. So PO, I only learnt what that was recently. I never really respected it, right? And I'd always be like, I'm not doing POs, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, when now we buy so much stuff without a purchase order, you cannot track it.
No.
Madness. But again, it's a learning curve that you learn as you get older in business, and you think, why did I not listen to someone?
Well, when you're supplying a business more is when you need a PO. Yeah, when you are supplying a business and you are
because
selling,
then they can't say that there's no proof of an order.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And generally it clicks into their invoicing system, and it should. Yeah.
I think there's another one. I might be wrong here, but I think there's like a proof of delivery as well.
Oh, yeah. Delivery notes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was involved in my old business.
So for
we got
people
to a
that
stage-
listen and that don't know, you started off originally in the print, right?
Yeah. You could not take on an order in the end, in particular, without having a valid PO, and then you always got signed delivery notes, because the world started to change. The world started to change, and it really upset me, because people don't want to take responsibility for things in this day and age.
Yeah.
And whereas I used to deal with old print buyers who, on the shake of a hand, you could guarantee everything would go as it should do. But then it started to change.
Do you know what? I still think a gentleman's handshake or a gentleman's agreement is still very strong.
It is, but it's nowhere near as strong as it should be.
No, it's not. You know, it's what you
trust it
can
anymore.
prove. Yeah.
When do you think it started to change?
I thought it started to change in the middle 1980s onwards, really.
And why do you think that is?
Companies and globalisation has made people not want to take responsibility for their actions. So I had several instances of dealing with people that said, Ivor, can you just get on with this? It's all approved. Go ahead. You go ahead with it. Something's wrong with the job, which is it's nothing to do with us. It's something where they've made a cock up and no one wanted to take responsibility for it. And in the end, they would hide behind. And this actually happened with people I'd known for a long time. They'd actually turn around and go, well, sorry, you haven't got a purchase order, you ain't got a leg to stand on.
And with print as well, it's like, for instance, a lot of the materials we use as a business are reusable.
Yeah.
With print, it's binned, isn't it?
Once it's printed, yeah. Yeah, never mind all the other stuff. We used to do a lot of fancy point of sale work and stuff that was highly finished, lots of finishing involved. And so it took a lot longer and people just didn't understand it.
So jumping the gun here, right? Obviously, the last 20 odd years, you dedicated all your time, business-wise, really to football.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you got any new goals or vision for business or lifestyle now?
Yeah. So I've been involved in a few different businesses and a couple of them I'm so very excited about. So one of them I met the guy. Many of you will have been to Bodine's over the years.
Steak restaurants.
Barbecue restaurant. So a guy called Andre Blay. He was the first person to bring American barbecue food to the UK. Burnt ends and all sorts of other things that people started to copy everywhere. So he had this chain, Bodine's. I met him a few years ago. My Lisa son used to actually work for him. That was a coincidence. That was a happy coincidence because it meant that we became friends. He said he wanted to start this new business. I looked at it. He was very clever. Their smokery for their meats was around the corner up the road. And he came by one day here during COVID when there were only a couple of people in, and he gave us a Jerry's hot sub. I gave half of it to our then CEO who'd lived in America a lot. And he's turned around and said, this is the best thing I've eaten since I came back to this country. And they're really, really beautiful things. So I got interested in his business. I looked at it a lot and landed up investing. And we're now opening Exmouth Market near Farringdon.
What market?
Exmouth Market it's called.
Exmouth.
Yeah. So it's a trendy street, really. And I went up there last week and the place is absolutely buzzing.
What day is the market on?
Oh, the market is just a food market, really.
So it's all the time?
Yeah, it's there all the time. It is absolutely stunning. Seeing that place, it was rammed at lunchtime, rammed. People in and out and in and out, and everything that he kind of wanted to do has happened.
Oh, wow.
Now they're looking at maybe another site, and and I'm in on the ground floor of a really exciting adventure there. And then I'm also doing some.
So you're getting on the grill?
No,
Can't cook, won't cook.
No, I can cook, and I do cook, but I'm not there. No, I am purely an investor. I'm not one of the biggest ones, but
No.
But I'm very
You're an
excited
investor,
about it.
nevertheless.
We're about 6 months ahead on our cash flow projections, which is cash is king.
Yeah.
Very few businesses are doing that at the moment. But then when you go to Exmouth Market and you see there's very trendy food places there, there's a little bakery stroke cafe, tiny little cafe thing, but they're selling donuts there for £4.50. Yeah.
Do you know what? I went for a coffee. I was driving through Banstead, like some nice coffee shops there. Couldn't find parking.
Loads.
Anyways, stopped in Carshalton High Street and nice parking outside, little cake shop. I know you know a lot about your cake shops with your partner and that. Anyways, stopped, 2 coffees and 3 cookies. How much?
14.
Yeah, 14 quid.
There you go, good guess.
And I'm like, Victor Meldrew, come out of there. I'm like, can I believe it? Like, mate, anyway, I come out of there, 2 coffees. I went to Sarah, how much do you reckon they were? You know what I mean? She's like, 8 quid. I'm like, no, like 14 quid. But in Wimbledon, before school, there was Sainsbury's. They're still there, you know, the trolleys. Yeah. I used to sit at the trolleys. I'd get the tram from Mitcham to Wimbledon and then sit on the trolleys and get the bus up the road, Wolfhall Road. And it'd be £5. No, it'd be £1 for 5 cookies.
Yeah.
And I used to sell them at school. And it was like genuinely good money. So I used to have... Here I'd have a little rip in my blazer, and then here I'd be like the Cookie Monster, you know what I mean? Like selling these cookies.
Come and think of it, you do remind me a little bit of a gingerbread man.
Well, yeah, I am, mate, yeah. But yeah, man, I can't believe it. Like, 14 quid.
Yeah, I know,
like,
What was the markup on the cookies?
what, percentage-wise?
Yeah, so what, you bought them 5 for a quid?
They were nice. The only thing is they were quite thick, yeah? So actually, what she should have done is... made them a bit smaller, because then she would have had more, value in her product or her materials.
But when you were at school and you bought 5 for a quid,
I said there were 5 cookies for £1. Oh, how much did I sell them for?
how much did you sell them for?
Well, £1, mate.
Each. Oh my god!
And I tell you what,
500% profit.
Listen, that's the God's honest truth. Can you do me one favour, please? Yeah, over there's 2 bags of Haribo.
Yeah.
And this is simple business. I swear down, man. I always had loads of money when I was a kid, man, just from selling stuff. So my first product, and what used to happen is sometimes you would... Sorry, thank you, mate. This isn't a setup, by the way. Do you want one?
Well, of course I do.
Mate, I love these Haribo.
If I could just give you a real anecdote from football.
No, let me quickly finish this, because you'll change my subject and then I'll forget.
Go on.
So basically, this is what used to happen, guys. There would be 2 ways I could get to school, I lived in Morden. One, I could get... tram from Mitcham to Wimbledon, and that's when I'd get my cookies. But sometimes with the cookies, they wouldn't make them. So then what I used to do is go to Morden and then get the 163 bus to Rains Park, where I used to go to Martin's Newsagents,
Martin's?
Do you remember Martin's Newsagents?
I remember they were everywhere,
Yeah, so basically Martin's Newsagents, these were 2 for £1. Yeah? How much would they sell for?
£2 each?
No, £1.
Oh.
£1. Everything was £1 in my pocket, mate. Everything, man.
You were a walking Poundland.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And weirdly, I spoke to my sister-in-law recently about that. Like, a pound shop was a pound shop, right? And then she was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to Poundland. I was like, well, everything's a pound. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, what do you mean, no, it's not? She's like, not everything's a pound in Poundland. I'm like, of course it is, man. It's Poundland. Like, turns out, Poundland, it's not a pound anymore, mate.
It used to be.
That is so weird that I'd done that, and that wasn't like a setup. Or everyone's going to think that he planted that.
There's a great football anecdote about Haribos. And you need to think about
Haribos?
Haribos, whatever you want to call it.
Haribos?
Haribo West.
That is so like, that is such a
very posh.
Ginola or Zola, like Haribo.
Right. I learned very quickly in the football business that the one thing you never do is in a changing room when there's a packet of Haribos left.
Yeah.
You never take the last Haribo out of the packet.
I don't understand that whole thing about like jelly babies and Haribos in a football thing.
Hang on. Why do you not take the last Haribo?
Because usually it's been left on the side for a reason, i.e., it's been somewhere where you don't want it to have been, and then put it in your mouth.
Right.
Comprende?
Comprende.
Yeah. I can even remember seeing one in our dressing room in the early days where there was a pube stuck to it. And I just remember thinking I already knew what not to do, but some poor soul may just blindly go, oh, look, there's one left there. Boom. Lord knows how many cleaners have had the last...
Do you know what? I don't think that sort of banter, unfortunately, doesn't happen as much as it used to.
I would hope not.
Life's got a bit prim and proper now, isn't it? Like the football banter back in the day. Like,
oh my God!
The Crazy Gang, their banter must have been carnage.
Oh no,
right?
but some of the stuff that used to go on. I mean, honestly,
now you'd get like probably sued for it.
But you can't get away with it anymore because of phones and cameras. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that I've personally seen with some quite famous people that you just could never get away with now. You couldn't get away with it.
I mean, like there was a thing I seen recently with like the Crazy Gang at Richardson Evans, like hanging out the window and climbing out. And
God, yeah, burning suits and...
Yeah, and now just you'd look at it as a business, if you're the chairman or you'd be like, get back in, you're going to get injured, mate. You know what I mean? Like, because really, they're assets, aren't they, the players, you know?
Mm.
The weird thing is, it probably worked in their favour, but it's a very difficult dynamic to make sure everyone's happy and enjoying it. It's a fine line between banter and bullying, isn't it?
Yes, no, and that is really true. And in point of fact, some of the old Crazy Gang stuff nowadays I can tell you now some of it did border on bullying.
But you can see what happened on the pitch.
Yeah.
The Crazy Gang basically bullied. Like, look at Gaza, man. Like,
yeah, no, that Gaza thing was nothing. Everyone had the utmost respect for Gaza. Some of the other stuff, if you look at it in some of the other games,
look at Keno. Like, there's footage of Keno getting booted up in the air.
But then Keno got straight up afterwards and got on with the game.
Yeah.
And then guess what? When it came down to it, Keno booted them back up in the air. It had the utmost respect for people like that. And
did he though? Because from the footage I seen, it didn't look like he did give it back.
Oh no, he gave it back all right. Don't worry about that. He when we played up there in the FA Cup, it was the year we knocked them out the cup. But we were played up there. We battered United that day. Absolutely battered them senseless. And Keno scored in the 87th minute. If he hadn't have been playing in that game, we would have beaten them clear. As luck would have it, well, not luck, we deserved it. Robbie Earl equalised in the 92nd minute, and then we beat him in the replay. But I can honestly tell you that day, Roy Keane, that was probably one of the best football performances I've ever seen.
Do you know what? It only takes one player to change a changing room, doesn't it? Like, to make a team. So it's like when we played
the team.
When we played Liverpool at Kingsmeadow, if it wasn't for Steven Gerrard.
Oh, we beat them all day long.
Yeah.
The same can happen the other way though, can't it? One player can disrupt a changing room.
100%.
Yeah, and that's the same as a business. Exactly the same as a business, like one person can change a vibe, and like you say, make or break,
Shall I give you my funniest Crazy Gang story that I was actually involved in? That I think you'll like, and I'm not going to tell any names here, but
just write them down then.
Yeah, there was so Wimbledon had a legendary kitman called Sid Neal. He was a lovely man, Sid, and he'd been sick and he needed to live in a bungalow. So Wimbledon put on a golf day. It was at Wentworth, the one of the best golf courses in the country. It was on the West Course. It was brilliant. I was doing quite well at the time, so I put 3 teams in. Three. So I took 3 lots of 9 of my mates, and we all played with a player and so on. And the golf day itself was brilliant. Lots of Wimbledon faces there, and then an auction and everything else. And it raised like the 30 grand it needed to raise to
a lot of money back then.
Yeah. It raised all that money that it needed to do the conversion for Sid's place and so on.
Oh wow, nice.
So we're sitting at Wentworth. Everyone's got absolutely battered, as you can imagine. And then someone said, right, we're going into Kingston for the night out. We're going to go to Kingston for the night out. So I'm like, right, okay.
Was that Options then, that club? Was that?
No, we were in McCluskey's, I think it was called. Not Options, but...
I remember McCluskey's down by the river, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever been carried into a nightclub.
McCluskey's was a cheese club, wasn't it? Like cheese music.
I don't know what music it was. I couldn't tell you. We got in there. I know that it was a weeknight and there was lots of students about and everything. But I'm out with, there were probably 8 Premier League footballers, maybe 9, of which several of them are worth a lot of millions. John Hartson was there. Neil Ardley was there. Loads and loads of our Neil Sullivan, loads of our boys were there. Everyone has got battered. I was already battered. I was sobered up by the time we left at about 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. I've got home and didn't think about anything. Everyone was hammered, right? I got a phone call to say that one of our players had been found slumped over a burger bar at 2:30 in the morning. Got into a hotel nearby the training ground, and it was all a bit touch and go for training the next day with a few of them. I went to bed for a few hours, woke up, and I get a phone call from the guy in the marketing department, and he says, "Ivor, you best get down the training ground." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "It's fucking carnage down at the training ground." He said half the players aren't fit for training. Like at least 2 of them are just in the sauna. One of them ran out on the pitch, tried to take part in training, threw up, right, got thrown in there. And I said, "And what's this got anything to do with me?" And they said, "Well, first of all, they're all blaming you. And second of all, you and your mates, you left all your golf clubs behind and there's loads of auction items that everyone had bought. Completely, I didn't even think wearing my golf clubs or anything. We left them all behind. We just left everything behind." So they said, "We've got them to the training ground. You need to come and get them and get rid of them. That's it." So I'm like, "Oh, crikey, all right, I'll do it." But I was a bit worried about going down. I didn't go to the training ground.
That's the worst, man. The beer fear, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So eventually I've got in the car, gone down there. I've crept in, and like a couple of them go, "Come on, Ivor, come in." Like Joe Kinnear was there. He gave me a bit of a death stare, which I don't know if that was because he knew what had happened or whatever.
Oh, he just knows something's up.
Yeah. Something was definitely up, and I'm like, "Oh, I've got to get out of here. This isn't a good feeling." So I've collected what I can. I told all the others to come down, meet me in the car park, give them all their golf clubs and the auction items that they'd bought, that they'd forgotten they'd bought, and they'd all spent thousands of pounds on stuff. You know what it's like. Anyway, that was the end of it. A couple of the players were in trouble. We had a home game on the Saturday. I went home, and then I went to the game. And when I went to the game, I thought, I think I'm in trouble with the CEO. I've got an horrible feeling I'm in trouble. He hasn't rung me. I got on really well with him.
Was that Sam Haman?
No, the CEO was David Barnard, who's a great friend to this club. He's director at Chelsea now. Wonderful human being. So anyway, I'm sitting in the lounge feeling really sheepish, still feeling a bit crap.
Where's this? What ground?
This is at Selhurst. Right, I was sitting in the vice president's lounge, and when I thought I was in trouble, I used to read the programme like that and not look at anyone.
Happened a lot then.
Yeah, so I'm reading the programme like that, but I could hear the door go, and every time the door went, I'm like this. I'm having a look. After about 5 lots, just when I was starting to relax a little bit, the door's gone. I've gone like that. I got to that, and there he is, David Barnard. Stays quite an imposing character, Barney. And he looked at me, went like that, pointed at me, and then went like that. And I'm like, oh. Well, I'd already been told they'd all blame me. Right. So off I go. He takes me into a separate room. And "You little bastard." "What do you mean? What have I done?" He said, "You led them all astray. You've done this, you've done that, you're banging it, blah, blah, blah." And I thought he was going to take away my vice president's ticket and boot me out or whatever. And he was going on and on and on and on and on. He said, "And anyway, and finally, and in conclusion," I thought, here we go, this is it. He said, "If you ever do that again and don't fucking invite me, you're for it." And that was the Crazy Gang.
What a boy.
That was the Crazy Gang in extremis. That was it. You know, it's the CEO. If you don't invite me, you're in it.
That's
brilliant,
right,
isn't it? It's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah, and you get them changing rooms, don't you, where other players would have definitely gone to that team because that's where they would have felt at home and that's where they would have played their best, because at the end of the day, it's about confidence. It's who you're surrounded by, isn't it?
One of the things that I always remember with Wimbledon teams is that once the young players are in and they're accepted, the rest of the players will go to war for you. And you used to see them backing each other up all the time in a way that some teams still do it now, but they only do it where our lot did it. If you got a tap on the shoulder and someone brushed past you, someone else is going to go bang, have that. It was really like that. It was absolutely amazing.
Football's changed as well, though, isn't it? Like actually, the game football, I think,
massively.
It's so tactical now compared to the formation different.
Back then, you could work hard and win games. Now, working hard isn't quite enough. You need the skill and the ability and everything else, and the brain,
the physicality,
the fitness.
The first thing that the Premier League teams look for is that physicality. They think they can train everything else.
Yeah.
You've got to have that physicality. And whenever we've played one of the Premier League teams, you've just looked at them and you think, crikey, we think our lot look, because they're all athletes now.
Yeah.
You look at them and you think, he looks like an athlete, he looks like an athlete. There is no one in that Premier League that's not a proper athlete.
Well, look at James Milner. I mean, he's one of the oldest players around. He's played more games than anyone apart from Gareth Barry, still probably the fittest player in the Prem.
Yeah.
38 or something.
Yeah. Every single pre-season for Liverpool, he was just top of the tree for everything.
Yeah. Incredible.
Well, listen, guys, I think with me and Ivor, the amount of times me and Ivor have sat down and talked business, and it fucking ends up just, I did it 5 hours later, right? But I think here's what we'll do, Ivor, if it's cool with yourself. This podcast is going to go long and far, and we'll do this as numero uno.
Yeah.
And we'll live to fight another day on it.
Always.
There's a lot of questions I want to ask you, but obviously time is of the essence that we need to be out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Although, so we've probably only got a little bit left. But what I'm going to do for the next episode is I'm going to let everybody know that it's happening, and we will get some questions and answers before, so we're ready. Because I know there's a lot of people that have asked me in the past to ask you questions.
Yeah, I'm very happy to answer
questions
I'm very much an open book.
No, good man.
Always
but
like to be.
the D-Lag thing as well, I'm going to keep a close eye on that more. I want to get involved in it. I know there's a dinner soon, isn't there, coming up?
Yeah, on the 28th of November. It's the most rewarding charity. That and the crowd I'll get involved with at Leighton Road Centre.
Yeah.
They to me...
So let me know about the table thing.
Yeah.
There's another thing in Kingston I've got to do, but obviously you can't be two places at once. But obviously the D-Lag thing sounds like that's the plan.
Yeah,
and I like a Thursday night beer anyway. It means you can have a little bit of a hangover at work instead of having a hangover with your family time.
Yeah.
You can cut that. You can keep it in. Don't worry about it. But sweet, man. Well, listen, it's been good to see you, mate.
Yeah, and you, as always.
And,
an absolute pleasure.
We've got 2 games coming up still this month, haven't we?
Yeah, well, we're off to Barrow on Saturday. Barrow away Saturday. Hardcore.
That's a bit of a ground, isn't it, Barrow?
When you say a bit of a ground,
I don't know. I've heard something.
Put it this way: their players live and train
in Manchester. That's right.
Because Barrow is like the Outer Hebrides.
Well, you go up to Lancaster.
What does that mean?
Kendal, you turn left and
Middle
you
of nowhere.
They built the nuclear subs there for a reason, because even Putin couldn't find them.
So how far is that from Manchester?
An hour and a half.
Oh, at least an hour and a half.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
I knew there was something with that ground that was different.
Well, the ground is bits and pieces. They've built it bits and pieces, a little bit here and a little bit there, and it's got you get the warmest of welcomes at Barrow.
There's one before we go. There's one thing I've seen recently that I love, and it's a Tesco's trolley stand. And there's a non-league football team that have a Tesco's trolley stand, and basically they were throwing it out, and someone was shopping and was like, "Mate, don't throw that out. We'll take it." So if anyone's watching, Google. Well, not if anyone's watching, but whoever's watching and you want to see a football stand out of Tesco trolleys, Google it and you'll see it.
I'll say just very lastly, because you're talking about Barrow and you mentioned COVID earlier. We played Barrow during COVID.
Yeah.
And we went up there, and it was in the FA Cup. It actually went to a penalty shootout, believe it or not. Freezing bloody cold, sitting in Barrow with 6 people in the stand. But one of the best things I saw in football happened that night, because it is in bits and pieces, their ground.
Yeah.
2 cars pulled up, or vans pulled up. They got ladders out. They put ladders on the outside wall, climbed up the ladders and watched the match. And I thought that was absolutely...
Using your initiative.
I loved that.
It's absolutely
perfect.
Brilliant.
It's perfect.
So if and when Toot and Beck end up getting the ground, then I'm up for Tesco's
Oh, it's great advertising.
Bringing us and you know, doing the deal with the Tesco stand.
No,
That's brilliant,
it's
isn't
great
it?
advertising for Tesco's. Fantastic for the club because they've got somewhere they can take shelter. I love that.
Were you born in Tooting?
No. I was
St Hillier, you weren't you?
No, King's College. Near Dulwich, yeah. I was more Millwall
Posher as
territory.
well.
Peckham!
It's gentrified now, Peckham, isn't
Part
it?
of it is. It always has been, you know.
Yeah, true.
No, it always
What
has
is
been.
that? SC22, SC23?
Yeah, around SC15 and around that neck of the woods. So Camberwell. Camberwell has always been seriously
I was
posh.
familiar.
Camberwell Green, not Camberwell Green, but there's a road, Camberwell Grove it's called. It's one of the poshest roads in the country.
Wow.
It always has been.
But anyways, mate,
You need
I'm going to love you and leave
yeah,
you.
they've all gone, haven't they?
Yeah. Thanks very much for listening, guys, or watching Mr. O'Sullivan and Mr. Heller. We have got some footage as well from 2016, 2019, 2017 or something, and 20 something or other, that I think we should get back onto with interviews and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's going to be some good stuff coming up for us, mate.
Yep. Great, sorry. I thought we were done. I genuinely thought we were done. He said we're done.
Yeah, we're not done. It's not over until
Till
the
you
fat
say it's
lady
actually
sings.
over. You shook hands and then
Well, that's why you never trust someone that shakes hands. You should have got a proof of delivery.
you never sent me the purchase order.
No,
Donut.
no, we're definitely done. Thank you, guys. Bye
No,
bye.
thank you. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you.
It's Harry Bose.
Yeah.
Like that.